What is my actual goal when I'm running ProPresenter in a service? And my actual goal is perfection, but I'm frustrated by that because so far I have had, in all the years that I've done this, I've had two perfect services. Two. And they were at a church presented by Church Tech U. It's the ProPresenter show. On today's show, levels of a perfect service, excellence or perfection. Hi, and welcome again to the ProPresenter Show. This is the show where I teach you all about ProPresenter. My name's Paul Allen Clifford. And before we get started, if you've ever beat yourself up because you did not have a perfect service, go ahead and tell me about it in the comments below, and like and subscribe to this content while you're at it. This is something that, strictly speaking, is not ProPresenter, but in my church, I was thinking about this as I was chasing after something that I'm always chasing after because I am a bit of a perfectionist. I'm, in some ways, I'm a frustrated perfectionist because I kind of have things that I want to be a certain way, and when they're not that way, I've learned to live with them, but I do kind of wish that they were like that. So I got thinking, what is my actual goal when I'm running ProPresenter in a service? And my actual goal is perfection, but I'm frustrated by that because so far I have had, in all the years that I've done this, I've had two perfect services. Two. And they were at a church where we had two services on a Sunday morning. They weren't even during the same week. So I've done this thousands of times and I've had two perfect services. So, with that in mind, do people know that I have not had a perfect service? My goal is no. My goal is that I have the next level down from an absolute perfect service, which is I hit everything exactly as I want it to hit. I hit it exactly at the right time. The lyrics come up a little before everyone sings them. I don't put them up early, etc. But a lot of times I'll put them up a little earlier than I intend, or wait a little longer than I intend, or etc., etc. And people don't notice that I have made a mistake, but I notice that I make a mistake. And that's perfectionism. That's where I'm trying to create something that just could not be any better. And it's a bit of a problem. And I'll admit it, it's less than ideal. But the second level down where no one knows that I've made a mistake, I think that that's excellence. I think that it's worth aiming for making mistakes, realizing you're not perfect, giving yourself grace, and also trying to do your best. So I think that that's worth doing. Now, there's another level down from that as well, and that is where maybe, just maybe, you made some mistakes. And if people were paying attention, they might notice that you made mistakes. But chances are they're so minor that they will forget them immediately and be convinced that you didn't make any mistakes. And I think that that's where we live most of the time, is on the level of, I have made some mistakes. People that pay attention may notice those mistakes, but they're so minor that they forget them immediately. So I think that those two levels, not perfect, but most people don't notice it wasn't perfect, and you made mistakes, but most people forget about them immediately because they're so minor, those are what you should aim for. Next down from that is where you make a mistake and it's obvious and everyone knows it. That's generally what we don't want to happen, but when it happens, one thing that's super important for you to know is that you should know. Do you like these videos, but you'd really like to learn from me in person? Well, I've got some great news for you. I am traveling around the country and maybe even around the world training churches on how to use ProPresenter. So I've got a either a 1 or a 1.5 day class that you can attend. For more details, head on over to TDM.fyi/events24, the top one right here, and register for the event nearest you. If there is no event that's near you, no problem. You can request one. So head on over to tdm.fyi/class request. That's this one down here. And you can say, hey, I'm interested in attending a class, or even I'm interested in hosting a class. Up to you which you prefer. In the last one, that is just information. It's not obligation, so don't hesitate to put your information in there, and I'll let you know when there's a class in your area, or we'll talk about what it takes to host a class. It's probably a lot less than you imagine that it is. So head over there, and I look forward to meeting you in person. To move on quickly, because if you spend too much time over analyzing your mistake, if you spend too much time beating yourself up for your mistake, then it's possible that you'll spend so much time doing that that you'll cause a train wreck of other mistakes. And so if you want to write a note to yourself, figure out a way to do better next time, whatever, that's fine. But it's super important that you correct the mistake quickly and then move on. Let me give you a story. So I've done a lot of freelance AV work, and I was running the sound for a conference of nurse practitioners. So, medical conference, a lot of people are there. I am in the back. It's very boring, just one speaker at a time. So you just make sure that the mic is unmuted. They've got batteries. They're mic'd up correctly. Everything's like that. So, it's not like running sound during music where you might go, oh, I need to turn up the kick here, and I might need to turn down the electric guitar there, or whatever. No, it's very simple. So I'm in the back and I stretched. I'm seated behind the soundboard at a folding table. And I stretch, and as I'm stretching, my legs push forward and hit the electrical cord. Immediately, all the sound goes out. But I had felt my foot hit the cord, and so when it unplugged, I immediately turned around, plugged it back in, and the sound came right back up. Well, after I was done, I talked to the guy who'd hired me, and I said, I'm really sorry. I stretched, the power got unplugged, but I fixed it real quick. And he goes, stuff happens. We'll cop to it with the client. And they went and talked to the client, and I was there. And the people in charge of this conference were ecstatic. Why were they ecstatic? Even though I'm beating myself up, even though I'm thinking how horrible a job that I did, why are they ecstatic? Because, they said, you fixed it quickly. Mistakes happen. None of us are perfect. And you immediately knew what was wrong, fixed it, and we lost 10 or 15 seconds. No problem. So I'm beating myself up. I'm thinking I'm never going to be hired again because as a freelancer, that's the thing. They can tell you go home and never come back again. I'm actually, at the time, I was an hour and a half away from my house, so I'm like, well, am I just going to hop into one of these vehicles with someone else and they're going to drop me off at home and that's the last I'll see them? No, exactly the opposite. So A lot of times it's not as bad as you think it is. A lot of times, if you fix your mistake quickly, people will even forget about it. Sometimes they'll be even happy that you could fix it quickly, even if it was your fault. So give yourself grace. One thing that I used to say in the past, and I think that it's actually true, if God wanted it perfect, he would do it himself. But he knows we're not perfect. We make mistakes. Even when we're trying to do our best, sometimes it just doesn't work. But give yourself grace and know that you can, in the future, have a better service and learn from your mistakes. It's worth asking, given the exact same circumstances, how could I have done better? Worth doing, but it's also worth realizing you're not perfect and you will never be perfect. And even when you are a ProPresenter expert, which people call me, you sometimes make mistakes, and that's okay. If you like this content, you'd probably like my ProPresenter 7 Quick Start course. So head on over to TDM.fyi/pro, the number 7 and quick, or just TDM.fyi/proquick. They both go to the same place. Give me your name and email address, and I'll make a login for you for free. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford from TrinityDigitalMedia.com and ChurchTechU.com, reminding you to go out and change eternity.